I can accept that I have cancer. What I can't accept is that it's so common. Ever since I learned more than a year ago that there's a 1 in 2 chance of being diagnosed with cancer, I thought, that's just way out of whack. So I'm going to get my blood taken. I'm scratching for clues. Once we have those test tubes and get them analyzed to see what chemicals from the environment are in my blood, maybe I can ask some questions.
So roll up your sleeve above your elbow.
I don't think that my blood tests will uncover the reason that I got cancer. I don't think that it's that simple. But I have been accumulating toxins probably since I was born, maybe even before. And the levels of these keep going up. And at some point, we should start to do something about them. And maybe that time is now.
Canada is in a cancer epidemic.
I had to blame somebody.
Their silence is killing us.
Part of the natural process of life.
A chemical is innocent until it's proven guilty.
It's not that simple.
I was at the office, actually, and the phone call came from my gynecologist saying, and it was weird, she said, the words were, I have bad news, Wendy. When I first got diagnosed, it was the why me. You know, it's not in my family, I've tried to be healthy. I eat my veggies, I exercise a lot, and I try to live pretty clean lifestyle.
Shopping for healthy foods, eh?
Yeah. We know all those things. Those things are great, but there must be other things going on. It's not about me. It's why is it now 1 in 2 who have this stupid disease, and what are we doing about it? As a journalist, I'm lucky to be able to make people answer my questions. I'm not going to get the answers to all the questions, but at least I can let people know that there's probably more that they should know, and that we shouldn't just buy the argument that we're going to beat cancer, because we're not beating it. We're losing. It's a moment of truth. I'm waiting for my blood results. They're going to be faxed in from a lab. It's kind of spooky. That's it. They tested me for 57 chemicals and heavy metals, and I scored on 44, which is not a good thing. And some of them were unusually high. Some of them were really trace amounts. A bit high on the cadmium. Arsenic, PCBs, wow, PCBs were banned like years ago, and it's still in my blood. I'm full of carcinogens, and apparently that's normal. We just know that, well, even if you live in the Arctic these days, you're going to have stuff in your blood. I don't know what it means. It obviously doesn't prove how I got cancer, but we don't know what's causing so many cancers, so maybe we should sort of start by asking questions about some of these things that we know are in our blood. After I got my blood results, I was curious to see how seriously the Canadian Cancer Society treats environmental toxins, and read their literature, and they said anywhere between 2 and 10% of cancers could be caused by environmental toxins. They don't seem to see it as a big deal. I picked this up in the chemo ward today. Canadian Cancer Society basically just says don't smoke, stay out of the sun, watch the alcohol, eat your veggies and lots of fruit, get checked, and avoid hazardous materials at work, and get some exercise. Tell me something I don't know. That doesn't explain why cancer is still increasing. We're heading off to Windsor, Ontario today because there's a family there, Julie and Dan Stanky, and When their son was 7, he was diagnosed with cancer, and they've been asking questions ever since. Why did Danny get cancer? And they haven't got the answers, so they're kind of like me. They're frustrated at asking all these questions. Hey. Hi, Dad. Hi, nice to meet you.
I had to blame somebody. And the maddening part is I couldn't find nobody to blame.
Why did he get cancer, do you think? Do you have any idea?
Environmental. Definitely. I truly believe it's all environmental. And I think it happened when he was in the womb. I really do.
Have you tried to get answers from people?
Oh, many a times. It's frustrating because behind closed doors, they will tell you, I've had many doctors in the cancer clinic tell me that 80 to 90% of all cancers are environmental. Very few are genetics.
When I got diagnosed, I started asking some of the same questions. And I went on to the Canadian Cancer Society website, and what it says, the 7 steps to health. And this is how you can prevent or avoid cancer. You think this it says don't smoke, eat your vegetables, get your exercise, stay out of the sun, visit your doctor and check up on things.
What did I just describe to you? Lifestyle.
Yes.
Again, blame games, your fault. No matter what happened, it's all your fault, that disease. It's what you did. Again, no disrespect to Canadian Cancer Society, but they were the least amount of information I got on cancer when I was doing my research. Yeah, they have made some gains in some of the drugs. I'll give them that, that's true. But I would at least want to see equal attention given to prevention.
I am infatuated with Superman in Smallville. Just reminds me of myself because of everyone tells me that I'm the Man of Steel because I've just been shot down so many times and hit so many times that I'm just the Man of Steel. I keep coming back up.
Youth Activism Award,
Yes.
in recognition of your contribution to environmental health. Danny became almost the poster boy for kids that survive cancer. He was also a poster boy for the environmental movement. You know, you read about a lot of stuff that the Canadian Cancer Society and others put out, and they're very proud that, you know, all these lives have been saved. But it's not that simple.
Yeah, it's not that simple. I don't know if I'm going to die tomorrow or if I'm going to live for, you know, until like I get married, you know? Like I've gotten leukemia, tumor. So I mean, like what else is going to happen? I mean, what's going to happen now? I mean, I don't know, but
You're such a fighter. I hope you're going to be okay.
well, thank you, and I hope you're okay.
Oh, I'm going to.
Give me some hugs. Come on. We'll be okay. We'll
great.
fight it together, right?
Okay. For years, the Stunkies have been asking all of these questions, and they haven't been getting any answers. And they're hoping that someone like Dr. Epstein will give them some straight goods. Dr. Epstein? Hi, Wendy.
Good to see
Mesley.
you, Wendy. How are you?
Hi. Dr. Sam Epstein, he's a professor at the University of Chicago, and he's written this book called Cancergate. He's very outspoken about what we're not being told. He's a pathologist with solid science behind him.
There is now a growing and a critical demand for the role of corporate social responsibility for winning the losing cancer war.
He was very unusual in that he's so political, so it was we thought he was worth talking to.
The facts are this. These are clear data showing that where Canada is in a cancer epidemic, nearly 1 in 2 men and more than 1 in 3 women are getting cancer in their lifetime.
This is what Canadians are told about prevention, the 7 steps to health.
The Canadian Cancer Society have ignored or trivialized these concerns and told the public if you get cancer, it's your own fault. You smoke too much, which is absolutely right, I'm not smoking. Or you drink too much, or you're obese, or you don't exercise enough. It's a lack of healthy lifestyle. It's your fault when you get cancer.
And
it's not because we have taken no action to reduce avoidable exposures to carcinogens.
Whose fault is it?
It is the fault of the Canadian cancer establishment, who have not informed the public of this vast range of body of information on avoidable cause of cancer.
Dr. Epstein says that we are surrounded by possible cancer-causing agents and things that we use every day, and that if we only knew more about these risks, that we could choose to avoid them. When we met the other day, and I told you I had breast cancer, and one of your first questions was, were you on the pill, the birth control pill? And I said, well, yes, as a matter of fact, but that's not like a serious carcinogen, is it?
The pill is the largest unregulated human trial that's ever been conducted.
The more research I've done, I should have got off the pill a lot sooner. I don't like what I read about the increased risks. Okay, so this is the product monograph for one of the popular birth control pills. And it says, the identified groups of women that may be at increased risk of developing breast cancer before menopause are long-term users of oral contraceptives, more than 8 years, and starters at early age. They didn't tell me that. I don't think I'll ever know what caused my cancer, but I have learned a few things that I wish I'd known before, and it makes me mad that I didn't know them before. I think a lot of people have heard that there are questions about hormones in beef. Hi there. Do you have organic beef? But I didn't know that our beef had been banned in the EU because of those injections. We're still eating it. Is there an issue there?
A vast body of information has accumulated on the high levels of hormones in the meat.
Are they saying it's because it's harmful or because it causes cancer?
We're saying, well, the major effects which have been studied and documented are cancer. The consumer has to realize two things: that their basic rights as Canadian citizens is being denied and challenged by the government, by the cancer societies.
But they're there to save lives, the Canadian Cancer Society.
You save lives by preventing cancer, not by trying to treat it, or not exclusively by trying to treat it. The more money you spend on cancer, the more cancer you get. And the reason why is there's been virtually no movement in the field of prevention.
So what are we spending all the money on?
Well, we're spending the money on screening, diagnosis, and treatment. In other words, damage control. You wait till they get the cancer, and then you try and treat it. As such, the more drugs are bought, the higher the profit. Now, the more disease there is, the greater the profit.
I'm in Paris because there's a huge international conference here full of some of the biggest drug companies in the world who are pitching their latest cancer treatments. And cancer is a huge business worth billions of dollars, and they get a big chunk of that. So I want to ask them what they're doing to fight the cancer epidemic. A big part of the story is about money. Obviously, there are limited amounts that Canada can spend on cancer, and at the moment, the biggest chunk of that money goes towards the drugs and the treatments. Obviously, big bucks at stake at the pharmaceutical conference. And they kept talking about, oh, there's so much stuff in the pipeline. What is your company doing to fight cancer? What are you doing to fight cancer?
It helps to feel better when you have chemotherapy.
So how's business?
Great.
Yeah. How's business?
Business is right.
So how big a part of your business is cancer drugs now?
It's 80%.
We got drugs in breast cancer, drugs in colorectal cancer.
We are a cancer company, yeah. Cancer treatment company.
Do you have anyone in your family who has
with cancer? My father.
Oh, really? What
he
kind?
died.
There's two very different worlds here. There's almost the conspiracy camp that says there's a lot of information you don't know. You have to be told this information, and they're not telling you, and it's because there's these gazillion dollars involved. And then there's the other extreme saying that, oh, well, just live with it. It'll just be like a chronic disease, and we'll spend all the money, but it'll be a good thing because we'll keep people alive longer.
It's part of the natural process of life.
I met the founder of the conference there. His name is Dr. James Holland, and he's this famous cancer specialist from the States. And he says it's pretty obvious why prevention isn't more of a priority.
This whole place is about treating, which is great, but why isn't there more on prevention?
Well, because there are no companies that are devoted to cancer prevention as there are to cancer treatment.
Why not?
Because there's no incentive economically for them.
So drug companies won't invest in prevention until there's a product to sell?
I would imagine that they have to, in order to stay viable, any company has to make at least a break even. They can't potentially invest all the time in charitable undertakings. That's philanthropy.
I'm very thankful for the drugs that I've been given, but we're already at the point where we can't pay to treat all the people who have cancer now, and more people are getting it. Why don't we start dealing with the root problem and stop focusing entirely or almost entirely on damage control?
Welcome to London, ladies and gentlemen.
A report has just come out in the UK that puts together clear, reputable scientific literature that spells out the links between environmental toxins and rising cancer rates. And Diana Ward, she's an activist who headed up this report, says that we've got to start looking at cancer as a preventable disease, that the science is clear.
Something on breast cancer prevention? Something on breast cancer prevention.
Why do you want people to read your pamphlet?
Well, because it's really imperative. What we're trying to say here is, please look at the bigger picture.
They say that it's just too complicated. There's so many cancers, so many different things that cause it.
Too complicated. Look, my answer to that is tough. This is killing people. Ignorance is killing us. Their silence is killing us. That is the authorities, and I'm talking oncologists and scientists and researchers and so on.
But they don't want to hurt us. Why wouldn't they tell us the truth?
Why wouldn't they tell us the truth? I'm sure they're not sitting around a table saying, let's go out and hurt a whole lot of people in the community today. This happens over a period of time. This is industry managed business. This is very big business. So I call the cancer an industry here. I make no bones about it. Cancer is a massive industry. One of the biggest barriers for us is encouraging people to think of cancer as not an inevitable disease. Not at all, but a preventable one.
It's so much work for people to educate themselves about every different chemical and what might affect them.
Well, how much do you care about your life? If you care about your life, you'll do it.
Shoppers in London have a lot more information than we have in Canada. If they're worried about suspected carcinogens in their products, they can check it out. They have to list the ingredients here, whereas at home they don't. The other big difference here is that they've taken out a lot of suspected carcinogens. It's not even allowed on the shelves anymore. You can't even check the ingredients in Canada.
What do you mean your labels don't have names like
of chemicals? No.
What do they have on them then?
It names some ingredients, but it's not required. Most of the cosmetics and so on don't list the ingredients.
Goodness me.
One of the things I've discovered is that there's this whole sort of grassroots army trying to tell people there are things that you can do. We met May Burrows, she's an environmentalist, who wants the word out that there is lots of stuff that we could be avoiding.
So right now, what do they have to put on the label if it's got a carcinogen in it?
There's absolutely no requirement to label a product if it's got a carcinogen in it.
So what would you like to see?
I'd like to see laundry detergents labeled. I'd like to see some of these pet supplies labeled. I'd like to see the personal care products labeled.
What kind of labels? Saying what?
Well, if there's a carcinogen in it, tell the consumer there's a carcinogen in it. This is a really interesting product. It cleans off crayons, so it's good to use around little children, right? it doesn't say in there that it's got a known human carcinogen, formaldehyde, in this product. According to the World Health Organization, if they say it's a carcinogen, that's good enough for me, and I sure wouldn't want to be using this around my kid. So what about this product? It's just such a cheerful box, and they actually do tell you what's in it. Here, trisodium nitrile-triacetate.
What's that?
Now, I happen to know what that is, and that is, again, a possible human carcinogen, according to the World Health Organization.
But that's something that you use once a week.
What we're saying to industry is that we know you can reformulate your products without these carcinogens in it. Just do it. Get ahead of the wave. You can make changes and you can still make a buck.
What do they say at the table?
There are those in the chemical producers sector that will argue that they're safe doses. You get cancer by being exposed to this whole range of chemicals, often at critical periods in your development and over a long period of time.
A lot of these products are formulated with carcinogens, but it's not clear if those carcinogens would actually be released when you use them. We wanted to talk to the product makers about this, but they wouldn't give us an interview on camera. Their argument basically is that the doses of any toxins in their products are so small that they're safe. May Burrows says, in the meantime, she's got this practical guide.
So we write the product name, we write if it has a carcinogen in it, what that carcinogen is, according to what source, and then what are the alternatives.
But we live in a society where there are so many chemicals, we're not going to get rid of all of them that are potentially a problem, are we?
You're exactly right that we live in a society that has too many chemicals in it, that haven't been tested properly. A chemical is innocent until it's proven guilty. And that's just not the right way to be doing things with the cancer rates what they are today.
But why isn't the Canadian Cancer Society saying some of the things you're saying?
You'll have to ask them that.
We're going to see the Canadian Cancer Society. They're the ones who inform government about cancer in this country. They're the ones who take our money and donations. They're the ones who inform us. So I've got an interview lined up with the head of the Cancer Society, Barbara Wiley.
People should not be exposed to known cancer risk factors or probable cancer risk factors unknowingly. So,
and we are now.
In some cases we probably are. We need to know with some certainty that there is a risk.
Isn't there stuff on the shelves already that we do know?
I don't know that.
We found this on a Canadian shelf. It's sold to young families to get stuff off their walls. Magic eraser. It's got formaldehyde in it, which is a known carcinogen. Why is that on our shelves without no warning, no hint?
You know, our government and our regulatory agencies have an obligation to take a look at that kind of situation.
Why is there not more pressure put on the manufacturers to get this stuff off the shelves?
I can't answer the why questions.
But you're the ones who advise government. They count on you for...
We advocate to government. They don't always respond in the way that we hope.
But would there not be some way of starting simply?
We advocate at a systems level. It's, you know, you can take two and get rid of them, and that leaves 2,000 more.
It's awfully frustrating, you know, when you look at the rates of cancer going up, and you're told eat your veggies and exercise. Sounds really great, but is it enough? It sort of sounds like a cop-out when we know there's all of these carcinogens surrounding us, and we're not doing very much about that. There's a missing piece.
We understand absolutely 100%. that it's not good enough, it's patronizing, it's condescending, it's not going to get the job done just telling people to live better.
But one thing I was really struck by with IARC, the World Health Organization body, in July they issued a press release where they basically changed the warning on birth control pills. Why aren't we told these things?
I'll have our folks take a look at it, Wendy.
Why is nearly all of the money being spent on damage control and so little on prevention?
I would agree with you that we have, we as a community, not just the Canadian Cancer Society, we as a community in the past have done less on prevention than we probably should have.
The missing piece of the puzzle, to me, is that we're not doing enough on prevention. And I think if some really smart people and powerful people got together, there could be decisions made that would be feasible and practical.
Yeah, okay, we have cancer, we all feel bad, but come on, step up. Let's step up.
I think we've got to get really angry that the profit motive seems to be outweighing the responsibility for looking after our children's health. And that's what we've got to change.
I've finished my chemo and my surgeries and my radiation, and I hope I'm done. There's sort of two camps in cancer land. One is the people who are expected to live, and the one is those who are expected to die, and I'm expecting to live. If it was just me, I could live with that, you know. Our failure to do better in fighting this disease is wrong. And I think we need to be a little wiser about the world that we're creating.